All right, hello everyone. We're having some issues with the permissions. It's not letting someone in, so just give us a minute. You should be joining in just a second. Hoping he can. I guess in the meantime, I guess we can introduce ourselves. My name is Sam. I am kind of the director of this whole thing. I've kind of always been into airsoft and LARPing and all that stuff ever since I was in like high school. I remember me and Dave, the guy who's trying to get on right now, we would go airsofting all the time. We would even like make movies with airsoft guns and stuff like that. But basically, been in the community a long time, and I just thought at some point that I really wanted to kind of make a game of my own. So yeah, that's my thing.
Hi, I'm Elio Estrada. I am in charge of, or I'm kind of the director of storytelling and world building for this event. I've been doing role playing games since I was about 12. I started with D&D and then got into LARPing around 16. I started with Amp for a little bit, and then from there got into World of Darkness troop LARPs. Then got into Dystopia Rising, and have been doing that for quite a few years. So started in the San Diego game, and then moved to the Texas game. And I'm really excited to be a part of this project. This feels like its own take on the apocalypse, and a really interesting way to integrate airsofting with a more full story developed world. So I hope you guys are gonna like it.
I'm Tyler. I unfortunately haven't done any LARPing yet. I've been wanting to, or airsofted, paintball. But anyways, I'm basically the art creative guy. I do a lot of special effects, makeup, costumes, things like that. Basically, I can make any creature come to life fairly easily. And I'm really looking forward to creating some neat creatures and doing work for the company and for making the NPCs and the PCs. If anybody needs makeup and stuff like that, I'll be on around, and I'll have lots of fun little things planned.
Awesome. Yeah. So Dave is still trying to get on, but we can introduce him when he's able to join. And so right now we're going to move on to the agenda. So let me see. Okay. Is the map still showing?
No.
No. Okay. Is there anything showing, or is it just white?
It's just your face for now.
It's showing what?
It's just showing your face. It's not actually showing the like screen cap.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let me see. Oh, okay. Okay, so Dave said he's working on getting in, so he'll be in soon.
Okay.
Let's see. So, all right. So basically, you're probably wondering what exactly our event is. It's basically a post-apocalyptic airsoft LARP. And I know there have been a lot of those in the past, but we kind of wanted to create a unique experience that's unlike the rest. So this is not a Fallout-based LARP or Stalker or any game or movie. It's not based on any of the movies. We have our own unique lore and story around it that's more relevant to kind of the current, our current timeline and our current climate, so to speak. And so a lot of games that are around are basically just kind of like nostalgia games for Fallout, and those are really cool. I love Fallout. I played it for years, but we kind of have our own unique thing going on that we really wanted to give to players, because I feel like there's a lot missing in this whole genre that can be taken advantage of. Okay, so Fallout and all those games are set for, like, 100 years into the future, like, more than that sometimes. Our event is set for around like 15 years, give or take, because a lot of electronics don't work anymore necessarily. So not a lot of people are tracking time the same way, but it's about 15 years after what's called the Great Collapse of 2032, where a series of events culminated in the world basically collapsing, everything, the economy, society, all of it. And basically the quote unquote gangs or people who are most powerful, they basically got a lot of the foothold and a lot of the power in the game. And so that's kind of a big part of it. Wherever the player is going to be coming from with their own unique backstory, what they create for themselves is going to be based around what it would be like if the world collapsed basically right now, and then what would it be like about 10 to 15 years later, and how, what they would be like, what the world would be like, and kind of that's what the story is going to be built around more, rather than you are like 2 or 3 generations into the collapse of civilization or like the nuclear fallout kind of situation. So that's going to be the big thing for the players, is that so let me see real quick. Dave is trying to get in. Let me see. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to try and send him an invite real quick. Okay. Okay. So we're still figuring that out, but that's okay. So on the map, okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the map, okay? So basically the lore behind this is that you have received so far 2 radio signals, okay? One from the Free Trade Commission and one from the Rotters, okay? So that's why those are a couple of the reasons why you could be coming to New Delphi. So this first event is called Exodus, because you're making an exodus to New Delphi. The radio signal has kind of told you that this is a place where we could start anew and start civilization again, specifically restart the city of Philadelphia. So that's going to be one of the reasons. And the Free Trade Commission is basically, are the people who settled New Delphi. So they're basically a bunch of capitalists or vendors, like traders, and they're all about free trade and prosperity through that. So like a free market system. And on the flip side is sorry, did someone say something?
Nope.
Okay, I thought I heard something. The other side of that coin is the Rotters, who are basically the outlaws and the bandits. So their radio signal is basically like, hey, come on, come hang with us. They're like, a domineering force. They're much like the Raiders. They're almost the same thing. They're a little different though, but.
Can I jump in for a sec?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So the Rotters have already been in this territory. So most of the map is supposed to be different Rotter clan territories, and New Delphi was a place that belonged to them and was taken by the Free Trade Commission. So the Free Trade Commission came in and pushed the Rotters further back, and so now this Rotter tribe is asking for assistance to be able to hold their own and hold their zone. So joining in with them is trying to help them, defend their land. They've settled this place originally, and they want to hold on to it. So if you come in and join with them, they need help with defending their place, and their tactics are more raider-like. They are okay with doing skirmishing and like assaults on the New Delphi or the New Delphi Commission or the Free Trade Commission. And they're looking to try and get assistance from the other Rotter tribes, but there is internal conflicts that go on there. So you're going to have some kind of debates with, or trying to find ways to bring in assistance without incurring more problems from the locals.
Right. Yeah, and so the Free Trade Commission, pushed them back to a different position on the map. So that's how, like Elliot was saying, that's how they settled New Delphi. They pushed them back, and the Rotter King, which is the person on the Rotter radio signal, he's really pissed off about that. And he's pissed off that there's this new guy in town. So the mayor of New Delphi, his name is Liberty Price, and he's the kind of visionary that's setting up this idea for the new town. Okay. So one of the things that we want to do with this event that would be really cool and is kind of unique to us is that we want to expand into the full scale of the map. So the gameplay area that we have pictured here is a tiny portion of the map. So we have about 40 acres of gameplay area here, which is not a small amount, granted, but the entire Skirmish Paintball field that we are able to rent, that they're allowing people to rent, is about 750 acres. So it's enormous. And what we want to do is basically expand into the rest of Skirmish Paintball's map as the games progress, when that becomes available. So basically, it's like in a game when you discover new locations. It's the same thing. So as a group, as players in the game, we all collectively get to expand out into new regions and new maps. And so I don't have the exact territory down here of how much of the map is. But basically, it's a pretty large portion. So this is about the size of the map. Okay. And so what we have this area right here, and basically what we want to do is expand into the rest of the gameplay area. And what the FTC wants to do, just to reveal a little bit of the story, because we don't want to reveal a lot of it, but it's okay to, you know, just tell you guys a little bit, just because we want to create. We don't want you to know. Some events will tell you pretty much everything, that's pretty much all the things that are in game, but I kind of want to leave that, most of it, up to what you experience in the game. So what the Free Trade Commission wants to do is settle in this area over here. So it's a pretty big city area, and it's got everything. It's got, the map is incredible and amazing, but right now the Rotters have control of all this territory. Now the whole map is not playable, but the way we're doing it is that the whole map is a part of the game still. So locations on the map are still things that can be had in Conquest in the later games. So that's kind of a thing that we want to do as well, is not just have the gameplay area we have be the entire world. So just kind of a cool aspect of us expanding out into the other areas. Real quick, let me see if Dave is coming on yet. I don't think he is. I don't think he's going to be able to join. We're going to have to figure that out for next time, because he definitely needs to be on here for the next one. Let me see. Okay.
I think we need to point out that the FTC is no slouch when it comes to going up against the Rotters too.
Right.
They're going to be more of an organized faction as opposed to like clan-based, as the Rotters are. So they're going to be more of a knitted group, more military-esque.
Right.
So it's not going to be a big giant, as much of a free-for-all as the Rotters might be, because it's kind of like a lot of tooth and nail with the Rotters.
Yeah.
But they're also, you know, travelers who have traveled from all over the country, listening to this radio signal and looking for basically home. So that's a little bit, you know, for the Free Trade Commission, so that, you know, it's not like going, oh, well, why should I join the Free Trade Commission? I just wanted to throw that in there.
Right. Yeah, and that's a good point, because that also goes into like, what are the Rotters? So the Rotters, you know, bandits, outlaws, and stuff, but their structure is basically just a chaotic group of clans. So basically just groups of bandits and outlaws that kind of like are kind of, I don't know, like groups together, so to speak.
They have a mutual agreement to kind of share the territory, and like there's a leading group that has a raider, or has the Rotter King, and the Rotter King is an enigmatic figure that, you know, usually keeps themselves hidden, and kind of oversees the distribution of the Rotter tribe. So they only step in when they need to settle disputes, but otherwise they leave the tribes to be able to kind of solve problems amongst each other. The Rotter King has still, as of now, not made too much of a point, except to send out the signal of basically being like, hey, we need some extra help here.
Yeah.
So so this first game is going to be a lot of the Free Trade Commission trying to settle more territory and really give themselves a strong foothold in New Delphi, where the Rotters are trying to reclaim their home and kind of push out the Free Trade Commission. And the story is really going to be up to what the players' actions do. We have ideas of where things are going to go, but we want this to be fairly open-ended, where both factions have the potential to expand the story. So depending on how missions go, how the factions actually interact, will determine what parts of the map get expanded into and how what is in those different areas.
Right. Yeah, and that's a great point as well. Is that's kind of we have set objectives and like operations that we want to do, but the way that it's going to be set up might be similar to some other events, but basically that, like Elio was saying, that the players' interactions and what actually happens dictates what happens, including, for instance, conquest. So conquest of certain areas, for instance, if the Rotters drive out the people of New Delphi, or if the New Delphi people drive out the Rotters, it's the same thing. So there's kind of a free form type of gameplay. So anyone in the game, NPCs, everyone can die. In the game, they can be looted. Except for certain items. It's kind of like a free-for-all game. Like imagine an RPG, except you can do more like conquest, and you can have your own clans as well. But imagine if a RPG game, like you could just kill everyone and loot everyone. For instance, trade caravans. I mean, it's pretty endless. You can go to, for instance, I'm pretty sure we're going to have like a small bank in New Delphi, things like that. It'll, create all these different kinds of scenarios that are going to be really unique and interesting for our game.
But if you make those decisions, they're not going to come without consequences, of course. So it's going to be a little bit more realistic than I've seen with these other games. Like say, you do rob the bank in New Delphi, well, you're going to piss a lot of people off.
Right.
And most likely you're going to end up with a price on your head or a bounty of some sort, and you're going to have people chasing you. And most likely you're probably going to die. So, it's a lot about making your own personal choices in this game and developing your own character and strengths and weaknesses and managing all of that. So it's going to be very, very different than most games that I've even seen or played, video games or otherwise. So we're trying to really throw something very different into the idea of like a LARP event. I don't even like calling this a LARP event, really, honestly, because it's more than live action. It's completely assimilative almost. You're just walking into this.
I've heard a way to describe it. It is, so it's not a LARP, it's not an airsoft event, it's not a cosplay festival. It's not a festival, but it is at the same time all of those things. Yeah. Like it isn't any one of them, but it is all of them at the same time, if that makes sense. That's a great way to describe it. It's all those things and also none of them. But we are going to eventually talk about bounties, because that is going to be happening in the game. That'll be in a later video. This is just to generally cover everything, and then we'll make subsequent videos for going into depth on a lot of this stuff, including NPCs, what they're going to do, so forth and so on. One thing that Tyler mentioned as well had to do with character creation and like who your character's development over the time. So one of the things that people definitely should think about that is an aspect of LARP that is in our game is that there's the character creation. So who's your character? What's their backstory? How does it tie into the lore of our game? And what we have out now is a very general lore, because we also partially want it to be player generated or created through y'all's stories. We want that to be an aspect of it as well. So basically, there isn't in the world as it is. Whenever you come into the world, basically you've been scavenging in the post-collapse world for about 10 years, just trying to survive, about 10 to 15 years, and you have received this radio signal, and this is the first radio signal that's been transmitted that you've got. And so this is like your first sign of civilization, or at least one of the first signs of civilization. And so kind of like think about how that would be and what your story is going to be, because we don't have anything strict for areas that are outside of New Delphi. So if you want to come up with an interesting backstory, you can definitely talk to us about it, and maybe we'll give you credit, include it in the lore, because there's a lot of cool things people can come up with. But yeah, like, why are you coming? Besides the fact, why are you joining either the Rotters or the Free Trade Commission, or there's also factionless. So factionless is another faction. And basically, you don't have to do anything for the FTC or the Rotters. You don't have to do it either way, and you have neutral standing. And that's another thing we're going to talk about in future videos is the faction patches. That's going to get you into factions and basically give you credit for that faction, so credibility essentially. The factionless are basically, you don't have to go with either of those factions, and you can do whatever you want essentially. You start out with neutral standing, so the Rotters don't hate you or like you, and the FTC doesn't hate you or like you. But if you're factionless, people will know that, and they'll treat you accordingly. And they'll and that's kind of a part of it too, is how people are going to treat you depending on who you're affiliated with. And there's also going to be some other sub factions that we're going to have that are kind of smaller, and we're going to talk about those later. Like there's a mercenary faction. There's also a postal service, and as well the bounty officers. That's going to be another one that we can go in depth into in the future. But those aren't the ones that you register with. So you come registered, either factionless, FTC, or Rotters, and then from there you can join one of those sub factions depending on what you're already affiliated with. And then definitely want to talk about currency briefly. So for the first games, we're going to have just a normal coin currency. We're not doing any derivations yet until we do the testing, but we're just going to have one coin currency, and it's going to be worth a certain amount for the first game. And they're going to basically be like little gold coins, like those kind of. We're not sure if we're going to do like literal brass coins, depending on our budget, or just plastic coins. And we might have just one or maybe two currency to start out, like one that's more worth more, worth less, but probably just one for the first game, and then progress from there into different cooler ones. So for our event, it was going to be 18 and up, but I saw that a lot of events like ours had people that were younger able to come. And basically, if you're under the age of 16, it's 13 and up. If you're under the age of 16, you have to have a parental guardian with you, because we're not your babysitters, essentially. So you have to keep track of your child, and you can't get mad at us if he hears like a cuss word or something like that. But yeah, so as well, so one of the things about registration that I wanted to bring up as well is that you need to basically you need to go to the website that we have linked in the Facebook group, and go and pick which faction you want to be in, so Rotters, FTC, or Factionless, and register through that, so that we can know which ones are in the Rotters, which ones are in the Factionless and FTC.
The idea is to try and keep both sides relatively even in numbers for at least the first few games. So
Right.
we want to try and get like factionless can be the one that can be the smallest, honestly. But as much as possible, we want to try and get people to be to join up with both the Rotters and the Free Trade Commission. And there is still the potential for you as a character to later on decide to leave the Rotters for the Free Trade Commission or vice versa, or just decide to become factionless. But to start, we want everyone to kind of have picked a side.
Right. Yeah. Just so like you were saying, just so it's not like unbalanced. Because I know that's how a lot of games can be, is really unbalanced and kind of all over the place. And we want to make it pretty even keel. If we need to, we'll kind of balance it out, try and do it through NPCs. But yeah, so that covers registration. We have the rule book, the waiver, the player classes, and we're definitely going to commit an episode to player classes, and as well the player book. So we're definitely going to make like a simple one-page briefing of the rule book. So you need to have the rule book read and almost completely memorized, just all the basic stuff, everything in it. And then we're going to make a player book for you to have, that you should bring to the event for reference, obviously. Another thing that wanted to say is we're definitely looking for people to, or we're definitely looking to try and live stream this event, try and figure that out. That would be really cool, with like a GoPro or whatever. So if anyone has any information on that or anything they'd be willing to do, because one thing we definitely need is someone to play the game like their own character and everything, and have like a GoPro and some of the other things on, because I just think that would be really cool to get like a bird's eye view. There's a lot of people on YouTube who do that kind of thing, but it'd be really cool to get some awesome shots of it that way. So we definitely need someone to do that, and we can definitely pay you for that. And we're also going to talk about the paid NPCs as well, and the volunteers and the unpaid NPCs in one of the next videos. And let me see. So one of the things I wanted to do as well is show you guys kind of what you're going to be able to play with on the maps. So this is a cargo tank area. This is one of the maps there. They have tons of maps there that are super cool, and that's why it's like really exciting to do this event, and then also think about expanding into more maps and fields. So I don't think this has one. So this is a tunnels map. Basically, there's a bunch of tunnels in the ground. We come up with something cool for that. And then this is there's like a heli crash with an oil drill map. Those are pretty cool. There's also the kill box map that is pretty awesome. Let me see. This one, super cool. A lot of cool maps on this field. Here, let me see. And then there's also this map, like a little almost city area, kind of. And we're definitely going to deck these out, fill them with as much interactivity as possible, fill them with as much, special items with QR codes on them and ammo boxes and all the stuff that you can loot and run through in different missions. So this isn't one of the biggest events just yet, but we're definitely going to fill every inch of it with the most interactive, fun, immersing gameplay that there is. So yeah, another thing as well is this is the gameplay area, and then this is where there's camping and parking and the check-in and all that stuff. And we have access to all of this. So that's what you're going to get. You're going to come in on this road and then park and then set up your camping area. Because the game is 24 hours straight, so it's 12 p.m. to 12 p.m. the next day. And there's also going to be nighttime gameplay as well, something that we're also going to cover in another Facebook Live. Yeah, so a lot of stuff. So nighttime gameplay. Is there anything else, guys? I think that about covers it for now.
I think for now, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're just gonna, as we have more stuff solidified, we're going to be posting that on our Facebook page, as well as eventually, I believe, trying to get a website together. Are we sticking to the Facebook page for now, or are we planning on doing a website?
For some reason, I couldn't hear you when you said that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I was saying, are we planning on just sticking to a Facebook page, or are we also doing a website? I can't remember.
I got the website up. It's
Okay.
also linked in the Facebook page. So yeah, so definitely all the websites are going to be in the Facebook group. And some of them, I guess the ones we need to will be on the website for sure. But yeah, go to the website or the Facebook group. But yeah, and also Dave couldn't make it, but we're definitely going to make sure he can get into the next one. He's just like a producer. Like he has a lot of experience in film and art as well. Just an all-around creative guy, and so yeah, that he's a part of the team. He's a longtime friend. I've known him since middle school. So yeah. So I guess any last words other than that?
No.
No. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks guys for anyone tuning in, and we'll keep everyone updated, and we'll let y'all know when we're doing the next Facebook Live. I'm not sure exactly what we'll cover, but yeah, maybe the lore or something like that. But we'll let you know. All right. See you guys.